And just like that, we're staying up. We're back up. We're not back up. We're already up. I felt really confident going into this game. I just thought we've done this. We've stayed up in the Premier League enough times now to know where you have to go to stay up. Fulham haven't. Obviously, they've gone down and they've come back up, which is unfortunate. It's you don't want the same team constantly being relegated. You want teams to come up and have a few years, not at the expense of Burnley, of course. So it is very unfortunate for Sheffield, for West Brom, and obviously for Fulham now. It's unfortunate for them, but I do think simply the problem today for Fulham is that they just don't have the know-how. They don't have the. I don't want to say they don't have the guts because that feels unfair, but that's the only thing that I can really think of right now. They just don't have that. They don't have the experience as well. I think if you compare their average age and their average sort of Premier League games compared to Burnley, nowhere near. Absolutely nowhere near. Maybe sometimes, obviously, age isn't a good factor depending on how old your players are, but I think we just had that bit of mental strength today. I think Gary Neville anyway, said it quite perfectly. It was men versus boys today. And I think that's true. And I think going into future, that's something that Fulham as a club might want to think about. They might want to stop thinking about Ademola Lookmans. They might want to stop. They might want to start thinking about investing in some real experience, some real players who, though they might not have the same technical ability as some of these younger players, know what you have to do to survive and to get back up. Obviously, they're going to have to get back up in next season now. Which I can't see any reason they won't, especially if the team continues to be as strong as they are. But they do have a lot of loan players that have really carried them this season. So yeah, I don't know. We'll see. We'll see where that takes us. But anyway, this is a Burnley channel. We support Burnley on here. So as I say, it's another year of survival. I think we'll be going to our 6th year now. Is it our 6th or is it our 5th? I'm not definite on this, but I think we'll be going into our 6th consecutive Premier League year, which is massive. It's a massive, massive number. This has probably been our most difficult year, by a long shot. I probably would say. But I think the problem has been is that we've made it difficult for ourselves, and as much as I don't really want to argue this point, I think it's a fair point to argue. I think the reason that we have stayed up as comfortably as we have, like we're 12 points ahead of the relegation zone, the reason that we've stayed up so comfortably, I think we're 12. I could be wrong on that one. The reason we've stayed up so comfortably, is just that the bottom three have just not been good. They've just been very poor this season. And I just think we've been the best, really, of a bad set of teams. Or maybe not even the best, maybe the most generally consistent throughout a specific period. Because really, if we don't have the period between, like, I'd say February and maybe April, if we don't have that period, we're probably relegated. Whereas none of the teams below us have really had that period of dominance, and that's why they've been relegated. And that's why I love my club so much. Anyway, having said that, we'll go on and talk about the game now. Generally, I think the first half obviously was excellent. We were just on it. I think once we got that first goal, the team sort of had reinvigorated confidence. Before that, it felt a little bit, who's going to take the game on? And you would have thought it was going to be Fulham, considering they have a lot more to gain than we do right now. But as we got that goal, I think that was just almost a marker to say, all right, this game's done and dusted now. I did feel at the start of the game, whoever got the first goal was always going to win the game, and Fulham didn't really fire back at all. I think they had one chance off the crossbar, but that was the only real worrying chance that they had. In terms of how oh, sorry, pardon me. In terms of how Sean Dyche approached the game today, it was a bit of a dirty one. it wasn't quite as pretty as you perhaps Wolverhampton Wanderer games. Um, it was a lot of old Burnley. It was just frigging smash it the frig up, and Woody will win it. Though I don't think that tactic worked very well today. I just thought because of Fulham's sort of inconsistencies at the back, I feel like it worked not because of our sort of prowess, but because of Fulham's lack of prowess. I think it evened itself out, and every once in a while, Fulham just won the ball far too easily, and obviously for the what was it? I think it was the second goal in particular. It was just quite easy, wasn't it? I mean, even the first goal, it was just quite easy. Just in terms of just boot the ball up and you win it. I don't know if that's because Deitch is right. Personally, I don't think that's because Deitch was right in choosing that decision. I just don't think Fulham had the assets in the team, because I think Lamina was playing centre back today, and obviously he's not a centre back. I could be wrong on that. I'm not definite, but you know what? I'm not complaining. I'm happy with the 2-0 victory. It's a really good result as well. We could always have gone into that game, gone up 1-0, and then just held up for the rest of the game. But we pushed on and got that second goal, which I do think was quite important, just to sort of lay that marker of sort of dominance. Like, now you have to get 3 goals if you really want a chance of staying up, and that was never ever going to be easy. So yeah, I think I think we played excellently today. In the first half, I should clarify. In the first half, we played excellently today. Second half, Christ, we just didn't seem to get going. I think you know what? I think we got quite complacent in that second half. I think we saw that we went up 2-0 with two. I think you could probably just say easy, maybe confidence infused goals. I'd never like to say easy, because it does feel unfair on the opposition, but I do feel they were easy in terms of what we really needed to do to score. Yeah, as I say, second half we were just totally off it compared to the first. What do we have? I think J-Rod had 1 shot, and that's all I can actually remember from that second half. We were pretty woeful, and I think a lot of that was just down to every single time we ended up getting the ball in the defence, we didn't try to push it up forward, we just booted it down, and then every once in a while a player would be getting on top of it and taking it forward, but I don't know. Anyway, I've talked plenty enough about all the external things of the game, but let's talk about the internal. Let's talk about the individual players. Nick Pope today didn't have a massive amount to do. He saved some pretty tame shots, which you expect him to do, so it's good that he's not making any mistakes, obviously. Won the ball plenty of times. There was the odd punch where I thought maybe you could be catching that, but I'm not gonna dive too deep into that, because you don't know the circumstance of which he is experiencing. So catch it, punch it. As long as the ball doesn't go in the back of the net, I'm pleased. However, I will say there were a lot of times where, under pressure and not under pressure, Nick Pope ended up picking the ball up, and not picking it up physically, but with his feet, and just booted it out of the pitch, not even out into sort of the striking area, out of the pitch. And his distribution today, it kind of epitomised what people say Nick Pope can't do, which I thought was unfortunate for him today, because I think Nick Pope's distribution isn't actually as bad as people say it is, but today it was. Put simply, it was quite poor today. Matt Loughton today, I thought Matt Loughton actually did really well today. It felt like the majority of the time he was carrying the wing attacks on both sides. I think the only real attacks from the wing that came were primarily from Loughton, which isn't great, because those attacks only really came from Loughton and then pushed into the centre. So, defensively he was pretty sound. He didn't really have a blip at all. I think generally when you're talking about a defender's game overall, if you've not got much to say about them, they've either had a very good game. No, sorry, no, that's totally wrong. It's the opposite of what I'm supposed to be saying. I'm sorry, I'm a little bit tired today. These 8 p.m. games are really getting to me. Yeah, as a defender, if you're not mentioned all too much, I think you've had a good game. If you mentioned at all, it's either because this is what I was supposed to say. If you mentioned, it's either because you've had an excellent game or you've had a particularly poor game. But Loughton, there's not really much of worth to mention because I just think he had quite a solid game. He had I suppose you could say he had the Ashley Westwood of a game, but I wouldn't say that because that's insinuating that Ashley Westwood has been. He has been very consistent recently, over recent years, but in recent games, I would argue he's not been as consistent. So, but anyway, he had a good game, and that's as much as I can really give to the situation. I've talked a lot. I've been really. I'm quite excited as well. So another season of the Premier League is good. It's good to be a Burnley fan. This is a good time to be a Burnley fan. Any Glory supporters, come over here. We'll win the league, or the Champions League, or the FA Cup soon. Guarantee it. Maybe. Charlie Taylor at left back. I thought today defensively he was sound. He had that possible penalty shout that personally, as a Burnley fan, I thought. Maybe it is a penalty because he's not got an adequate enough touch on the ball and he's got a lot of the man. I think if the man isn't fouled, then he gets onto the ball just as easily. So personally, I would have called that a penalty. But I do think the officiating was absolutely appalling today. And I never want to see Robert Jones as a fourth official ever again. Full stop. They must all have been Robert Jones affiliates, I'm sure of it. Both on pitch and at VAR. Anyway, I'm talking about Charlie Taylor. Defensively, he was pretty sound. Attacking-wise, he didn't have much to play off of, which I will talk about a little bit further with Dwight McNeil. But that's as far as I'll go right now. I think Charlie Taylor was stunted by Dwight because defensively he was sound. He didn't have a blip, much like Matt Loughton. But I'm not sure what to do with Ben Mee and James Tarkowski. Okay, all right. This is what I'm gonna do. I'm gonna talk about Ben Mee first. All right, Ben Mee is my honourable man of the match. If I could give a joint man of the match, give it to the two of them because I think as a unit today they were on point. They were so good today. They just didn't really put much of a foot wrong. They didn't put a foot wrong at all. Like just full stop. They just didn't do anything wrong. They did everything so perfect to the book. Ben Mee, he was winning headers left, right, and centre. There was only a couple times when Mitrovic got up ahead of him, but other than that, he was winning headers. There was one particular tackle that he made, and I just thought it epitomised Ben Mee as a defender so much, and he just had a very good game. Though I think that was only primarily through the second half once Fulham were really pushing it. Obviously, he had a good first half as well, but I think the second half really bigged him up. Throughout the entire game, however, I thought James Tarkowski, my personal man of the match for today, I thought James Tarkowski was on another level today. He's not been excellent recently, as much as I don't really want to admit it. He's not been excellent recently, but today, defensively, the man was on fire. Like, there was not a loose ball that James Tarkowski wasn't on top of. There wasn't a header that was coming towards him or any teammates around him that he didn't end up winning or they didn't end up collecting. I've got no words for him. He was excellent today. There was the opportunity where I think Adam Ola-Luckman crossed it in and there was a player coming across and Tarks must have been about 2 metres away from him. And you thought, all right, well, this is where we concede. Great, well done, boys. But Tarks just comes across out of nowhere and boots it onto his head, and his head knocks it out. Truly, that is one of the best James Tarkowski performances I've seen in recent years. In recent times, he really rolled back the seasons with this one today. That was the best I've seen him all season. I would probably argue that's the best I've seen him all season because he was all over the place. And if I'm a Fulham fan, I hate James Tarkowski. I hate him because I thought he was excellent. Um, I'm getting all flustered. Oh, goodness me. I love Tarks. I don't want him to leave. Please don't leave Tarks, please. You and Burnley, you're going to do bits together. You're going to win the Champions League. I promise. I promise. With Burnley. I might be getting a little bit over optimistic now. We've just survived Premier League relegation, so I shouldn't be getting too excited yet. But with Alan Pace's sort of money insertion, why not? Why not? Insertion feels a bit wrong. Money insertion. In terms of midfield, I thought the midfield today were a bit pointless. I don't really understand why they were there, to be totally honest. I know obviously 2 goals came from our midfield, or at least a pre-assist. Rather, a goal and an assist. It was an assist. A goal and assist came from midfield, granted. But other than that, other than the Westwood goal, the Westwood pre-assist, the Westwood goal, and the Josh Brownhill assist, I just thought the 4 of them were all really pointless. In terms of the general team, the general layout, the general knowing of what they were doing, it didn't really feel like they had much of a plan in the centre of midfield. In the centre of midfield, across the entirety of the midfield. I actually thought the centre of the midfield was the main thing that kept us going today in terms of attacking. Dwight McNeil had a good first half, not a Dwight McNeil first half, but had a good first half. Didn't really put much of a foot wrong. Second half, wow. I love Dwight. I love him so much, and I think he's an excellent player. But that second half, he was so off the money. I really wanted to see Goodmanson come on for him, because Dwight he wasn't looking right. He wasn't looking up to it. There were a lot of different occasions where you would think, all right, Dwight McNeil's now going to blast it down the wing. He's going to pace it, and he would just. It was the bit between jogging and sprinting, and it was like, come on, do something. It was so frustrating because we know how good he can be in situations like that, and he ended up just pulling it back slowly, just preventing any sort of attack from happening. And ended up just passing it back to Charlie Taylor, who then passed it back to Ben Mee, and then we booted it back up. We could have had a lot of big chances if Dwight was on it today. A lot of his passing just didn't ever really go to anyone. I think he's excellent, and he's not bad. But today he just wasn't on it, and it makes me wonder, because he's had that second half blip 2 games in a row now. I wonder, do we just start Goodmanson ahead of him next game against Leeds Scum? We all hate Leeds Scum. We all hate him. Do we just start Dwight? Do we just start Goodmanson ahead of him next game? I personally think so. We're safe now. We can do a bit of rejigging, and I think it's fair to the rest of the players to do a little bit of rejigging. Get Dale Stephens in. Just get some players in who haven't had the game time that need a bit of game time, realistically. Yeah, Dwight just wasn't on it second half, and that's as deep as I can go. Josh Brownhill on the right-hand side. Again, I've said it every single time, and I'll say it again. He obviously got the assist. He was in a pretty advanced role today for the assist. But just generally, he was just invisible again. I hate seeing him on the right-hand side because he's so wasted. Because we know, in the centre of midfield, we know that Josh Brownhill is a very good little engine. He's a good little machine. He can make things happen. He's a great pivot, and he's a great attacking asset in the centre. But on the right-hand side, I don't understand why he drops off so much on the right-hand side. It's baffling to me. But I'm not blaming him for that. I'm just blaming a lack of investment into the team, a lack of right midfielder. I want to see more of him in the centre next season, as long as we have obviously players to fill in for our wingers. Because right now he's getting the Jeff Hendrick treatment, and it's not fair, because Josh Brownhill is levels above Jeff Hendrick, and I want to be able to see him be levels above Jeff Hendrick in the centre. But as I say, I don't think it's his fault. I just think it's a systemic problem, and There's not really much he can do other than slowly adapt to being a right midfielder, which I don't want him. If he becomes a regular right midfielder, I'm going to be very displeased in Sean Dyche because we know what he can do. Anyway, I've said that plenty of times. Go on to the centre of midfield. Ashley Westwood, Jack Cork. Obviously, Ashley Westwood. I sound drunk, don't I? I'm not drunk. I don't drink. Look how quirky I am. Ashley Westwood got the pre-assist, obviously, for his goal. It was a great little play, actually. And this really epitomised Ashley Westwood for me today. The goal came from him, just knocking it far over to Vidra. Vidra ran onto it as fast as he could, pushed it, kept it for a small second. Whilst this is happening, Ashley Westwood is sprinting, and you can see it in all of the camera angles. He's sprinting as fast as he can. Though he's not fast, he was sprinting as fast as he could to get into the box. And by the time Vidra got to the edge of the box, Ashley Westwood was just about in position. Vids passes it in. It takes a small deflection off the keeper, which, you know, you might have thought, is he going to get hold of it? He does get hold of it with his left foot, and he pops it in. It's a great goal. Not because of the strike, but just solely because of what he did to make it happen. He was the reason we scored there. However good Vids' assist was, it was good, and he made it happen really well. He got around the man really well and took it right up to the line, just where the players just don't want it to be. But Ashley Westwood's run and pass over, it's like he knew that goal was coming. And Westwood has been a really good source of goals for us this season, I would say. I think, what's he got? I think he might have 4 goals. Could be, it's either 3 or 4 goals, I'm not definite. Could be more. You'll have to hit me up on that one. I'm not great on my stats. But for that goal in particular, I thought Ashley Westwood was great. I'll talk about Westwood and Cork in the same vein as a general game, though. I thought they were both good. As I said before, the only real thing that happened in an attacking sense came through the centre. Generally, it came from Matt Loughton just passing it into the centre and allowing us to push the ball over. Our centre couldn't do much because nothing else around them was happening. They couldn't really pivot off of anyone. They were the pivots. But they were the pivots for Matt Loughton, and that's just not enough. You need things coming from all directions when you're a centre midfielder. I mean, and they just didn't have it. I thought defensively they were perfectly capable. They got back when they needed to get back, and they pushed forward when they needed to get forward. Ashley Westwood in particular. And he always does get forward on the counter attacks. Yeah, he's good at that. But I just don't think he's fast enough. He's not explosive enough to really sort of work with a counter attack. But he's always forward. He's always trying to make something happen, whether or not it does happen. So I was pleased with Cork and Westwood today. I was particularly pleased for Westwood getting his goal because I love Westy. I absolutely adore Westy, and I love Corky. I love all of our boys, but I do love Westy. I do love Westy indeed. Up front, our strike partnership, Matej Vidra. He had a really good game today, and I was so disappointed for him that he didn't get his. He didn't end up getting his goal because he had one strike with his left foot. It was so close. Great touch, by the way, an excellent touch. I think it was with his left foot. He just took it slightly to the side, and it was a great touch. And I just wish that ball had just gone in the back of the net because he really deserved it today. He was excellent. Obviously, he made the Ashley Westwood goal happen. But similarly to how we played in the FA Cup against Fulham, he was just constantly just ripping them open, just pulling them from side to side with his explosivity. Is explosivity a word? I think I said that last week. I'm not entirely sure. With his pace, with his sort of general aura of I'm everywhere and you can't stop me from being everywhere. And it was pleasant. It was pleasant to see him playing today. And based on today's performance, you would think next season that's going to be the strike partnership, because this one's really worked well since it's come into play. Personally, that's the one I choose, and I'll talk about the subs soon because it's a problem I find. Anyway, Chris Wood bags a gorgeous goal, absolutely gorgeous goal. There's nothing more to say. The man is fueled with confidence right now. And it's not even like he's fueled. The gas tank's not going down. Petrol is constantly going in this guy. Petrol made with confidence is constantly going in this guy right now. And I'm telling you, I wish that it wasn't nearly the end of the season, because he right now, if he goes through the rest of this season, through the whole of the next season with the current form he's on, he could genuinely be looking at a golden boot. Because when Wood is at the height of his game, he just scores, and that is what we need in this squad. And when Wood exits the team, that's a problem. That's going to be a real problem when he has to exit the team. And we've seen it this year when he has exited the team. Nothing's happened. Nothing's come from anyone. Wood's just a goal scorer. And today in particular, he just found himself in great positions. He was always in the place exactly where the person might be passing the ball or crossing the ball. He was your number 9. He was what you want from a number 9. His hold-up play today wasn't as good as it has been as of late. He lost the ball quite frequently when grabbing hold of it. A few of his passes were a little bit wayward. His touches weren't excellent. But, he scored a goal. You weigh it up, you think, he contributed to the team, but not to the levels he has been recently. He's been excellent. And I'm telling you, right, if Chris Wood doesn't get Player of the Month for April, I'm going to be fuming, because he had an excellent month. I don't think anyone's even close to him. I think, what did he get? 4 goals and 4 assists? 4 assists across the whole month. That's great. That's great numbers. For Burnley as well. For Burnley, who have just escaped relegation. Please tell me someone else who deserves that Player of the Month award more than him. No one. As I said, right, if Chris Wood leaves this squad, if he goes out through injury, or he's coming off as a substitution like he did today, Jay Rodriguez. All right, I'll talk about J-Rod first, because he came on first. J-Rod does not have it anymore. He doesn't have the potential. One, he doesn't have the potential that he used to have. 2, I just don't think he has the general ability anymore. And it does kill me to say it, and I say it, I've been saying it for about 3 or 4 games in a row now. He's an underwhelming player, and we bought him because he's J-Rod, and I don't want to say it because I do love him, because he's a Burnley boy, but we bought him because he's J-Rod, not because he's actually an excellent player. Obviously, he scored his great goals. He scored that one against Chelsea a couple seasons ago. He scored that, just the one that will go down in history against Man United. That will go down in Burnley history, I'm telling you. But for what we want to be doing season in, season out now, we don't just want to be staying up. We want to be comfortably staying up, and we want to be pushing for further up the table. We're not here to just prevent relegation. But that's what J-Rod feels like. It feels like he's there for the big games, and even sometimes this season he's not been there for the big games, and you got to wonder, is it time now to let him go and bring in someone else who might be a little bit younger and has a little bit more of a spark? Because I don't think he does have it anymore. Obviously, please discuss that in the comments. Please discuss what you think of J-Rod in the comments, because I might just be looking at this through a slightly tainted glass. That's just how I'm seeing things right now. Even when he came on, he just lost the ball constantly. I don't think he had much of a touch on the ball, where Fulham just didn't end up with the ball instantly, and it was disappointing. Ashley Barnes, it was a similar thing. He didn't have as much time as Jay Rodriguez did. He had about 7 minutes, maybe 7 to 10 minutes if you include extra time, which you obviously include. So about 10 minutes. Ashley Barnes was a little bit more the same. He looked a little bit more advanced than J-Rod. Obviously, J-Rod had his strike on goal, but it felt a little bit uncomposed. It was just a hit it as hard as you frigging can. But Areola saves it well, to be fair to him. He does save it well. Barnes doesn't actually get a shot on goal. He does get a shot on goal, but it's a pointless. There's not even any point talking about it, to be totally honest. There's not really much to talk about. But from what I had seen, it was just a little bit more of seeing Ashley Barnes sort of dwindle away. You can see that he's still Ashley Barnes. but he doesn't have that anymore. I don't know if it's because he's getting older or if it's just a little bit of ring rust. I don't know. He might just need more game time, and eventually he'll come back into it slowly. And he'll take advantage rather of playing more game time, and I hope he does. Because we know that Ashley Barnes still has it in him. We do know that because we've seen it earlier this season, last season as well. We've seen that he has it in him still to have a good little run of form. But is it about time now that we think, is he going to have that run of form next season when he's another year older? I don't know. I do love Ashley. And I love J-Rod. I love them both, but you got to start thinking about the future. And I think Wood and Vidra primarily are our future. Because, by the way, when Barnes and J-Rod came on, any potential attacking prowess we had with Wood and Vidra just dissipated instantly. It was so negative. It was just so uninspiring. And I think with Vidra up top there, it adds that sort of level of mystery, like what is going to happen. Whereas when you have two, not slobs, two just big blops up front, whether it's Wood and J-Rod, Wood and Barnes and J-Rod, when you have two of them up top, you know exactly what's happening. And in terms of Burnley, when your opposition knows exactly what you're doing, you just have to be really good at what you're doing. And if you're not really good at what you're doing, you're not going to score goals. With Vidra in there, he has a little bit of something that makes you think, all right, what's going to happen here? Is he going to take a shot? Is he going to push it out wide? Similarly, with Wood, recently, is he going to take a shot? Is he going to pull it out wide? Is he going to pass it into somebody else? What's he going to do? Those two in particular have sort of developed a level of I can't think of the word right now, but they're not as readable anymore as Barnes and Rodriguez are, and as Barnes and Rodriguez were, and it's disappointing. It's disappointing. Anyway, yeah, I've left that on a little bit of a sour note there, haven't I? I don't want to ever do that with Burnley. I don't ever want to leave it on a sour note, but that's just how we're going to leave it. All in all, an excellent performance from the first minute until the 90th to an extent. Defensively, I thought we looked a lot more ourselves today. Nothing was getting past us today. Absolutely nothing was getting past us, and it was a nice little throwback. Hopefully, we can take that on to the next season now, and on to the last three games. Obviously, we've got Leeds to come, we've got Liverpool, and we've got Sheffield. If we can get it, I'm very pleased. I'm very, very, very pleased indeed. But anyway, we have Leeds on Saturday. I think it's on Saturday or Sunday. So fingers crossed we can beat them. On to the next one. Come on, you Clarets. Thank you very much for watching. Please leave any discussions that you would like to do in the comments. It's been very lovely seeing people comment as of late. I just like seeing people interact. I like seeing people give their opinions, give their views, and it's even from opposition fans. That's been a real positive for me. Seeing opposition fans give their views. So it's been very positive. Anyway, yeah. On to the next one. Up the Clarets. Thank you very much for watching. Let's beat Leeds, scum. Let's do it, boys. Come on.